We're going to have on stage a speaker that runs one of the most prominent design studios in Romania. They've worked with hundreds of clients, and they've accumulated enough experience to be able to talk about exactly what your question related to, which is design trends. So I'd like you to welcome Stefan Szakal from X3.
Hello. Hi. First off, how many designers do we have around here? So, like 5, right? 7. I'm sorry. All right. Thank you. Okay. So, I'm going to talk about our experiences of regarding working with the Microsoft Design Language. First off, for those of you who don't know, X3 is a design studio from Timișoara. We've been doing this for quite some time now. During all this time, we managed to cover a lot of services or a lot of disciplines. We're kind of eclectic that way. And we do our best to find new challenges and to find new areas we can experiment with. But you can see everything that we've done so far on our website. Basically, it's a Behance page that, yeah. All right. And during the last 3 years, I guess, we've been working with Microsoft on different projects. And probably the most important part here was that we started out with web, right? And then we started gradually moving towards applications or Windows applications, right? Can I get a little bit of water? Okay. All right. So what is it that we're talking about when we say Microsoft Design Language? Sorry. All right. So basically, we need to first understand how we got here, right? Back in 2010, Microsoft launched Windows Phone 7, right? And this was something very different. This was something that hasn't been done like this before, right? After that, in 2011, they relaunched the interface for Xbox. As you can see, there are a lot of visual elements that kind of follow through the examples that I showed you before, right, with Windows Phone. And of course, in 2012, they came with Windows Phone 8 and Windows 8, right? The revamped or redesigned operating system. So basically, the whole idea here is that Microsoft is trying to apply one single consistent design language across each screen it touches. This is very important to note because when we are talking about Microsoft Design Language, basically, this is what we're talking about. If you remember back in 2010, for those of you who developed for Windows Phone 7, back then it was called Mango, right? Then, in 2011 and 12, actually in 2012, we had Windows 8, which was called Metro. Now, everything across all screens, it's what we call Microsoft Design Language. Okay, I'm going to go into some of the principles. Well, actually, let me show you the 5 principles that are behind this new design language or design philosophy. And we're going to get closer, or get a closer look at 2 of them. Pride and craftsmanship. This basically means that you need to be, well, you need to be sweating the details. You need to be doing all the legwork that needs to be done to align your application to the grid and all the things that, all that last 4%, so to speak, right? That makes an application great or makes an interface great. Be fast and fluid. Basically, this principle means that as an application or an application designer, your application needs to respond to the user interaction. It needs to be able to offer the information that the user wants at the moment it wants it, right? It talks about, or this principle is basically behind fast-moving animations and transitions between sections, right? Then we have the authentically digital principle, which is essentially it means that you need to be proud or be aware of the device or embrace the device. Know that this is a digital medium that we're working with. Do more with less. This is quite obvious, I guess. And we also have win as one. Now, do more with less, as a principle, it pretty much relies or applies to everything when it comes to the principle. Actually, we're going to get into that as well. Let's just start with authentically digital. It's easier that way. OK. All right, so authentically digital. What this means is that, as I said, essentially to embrace the medium that you work with. But this means that you have dynamic and alive with communication, that your apps need to be alive, so to speak, right? It means that you're supposed to, or you're not required, but you're supposed to understand the use of typography and how to use this, to understand the bold and vibrant colors that go together with designing for, through these principles. And of course, using motion meaningfully. Now, this whole digital medium, everything that is regarding this, actually Vitaly touched on this quite nicely, is understanding the difference between simulating a physical world in a digital one, right? There's no added value to knowing that on that icon, for example, the light is coming from a certain perspective, or there's no added value to using an actual calendar stand, right? Physical calendar stand to symbolize a calendar. All these things are things from the past. These are the things that mimicking the real world or mimicking things that aren't digital in the digital world are the things that we're all moving away from. I mean, that's the whole principle here. And also, again, the whole idea of flat design, the whole idea of simplicity comes in response to the skeuomorphic, the visual style of skeuomorphic design and everything else, all these elements that were too much, so to speak. But all this comes back to the Bauhaus, the modern design movement, which influenced the entire Microsoft design language. Bauhaus was actually a school or line of thought where it all came down to this: radical reductionism to the core function, an elimination of superfluous additions, and beauty esteemed through simplicity. Right? This kind of applies to the next principle as well, to do more with less. Be great at something, focused and direct. When designing an application, it's important to know or to keep in mind to do only one thing, but do that right. Trying to do too many things at once you'll end up with a less than average application. Focus and direct is also important. You need to be able to push the content that you want, or you want to focus on the things that are important for the user and the user interaction. And of course, content before Chrome. Content before Chrome is basically the whole idea behind what you see in Windows 8, for example, right? Where all of the interface elements that were known before or were used before are now hidden or not as visible to the user. But everything is still there, right? But the content is pushed into the forefront. So these are the 5 principles, right? Pride in craftsmanship, be fast and fluid, authentically digital, do more with less, win as one. Now, with all of our time we spent working on some applications with Microsoft, we came to a few conclusions. One of them is that competition is awesome, right? We all know that Back in the day when iPhone first came out and BlackBerry was on the market before the iPhone, Windows was Windows Phone 6.5, I think, right? And it kind of got stuck there. But after iPhone came out and the whole smartphone market or smartphone revolution started, Microsoft was pushed to design new things or to think outside the box, right? And that means that we as customers, we as users, have won on this. I mean, this is the reason why interfaces are evolving. This is the reason why the whole Microsoft design language has evolved to this point. It's because of competition, of course. Another important point is this quote from Wayne Gretzky: "Skate where the puck is going, not where it has been." From my perspective, at least, the future of interfaces, the future of navigation, the future of computing has less to do with the device itself, but with the user experience. That means that from this point on, I mean, with all the cloud integration and everything else, from this point on, well, at least probably, I don't know, 2050 or something like that, we're not going to see PCs anymore, but we're going to see smart glasses everywhere, right? We're not going to see cell phones, but we're going to see devices that we can interact with that act like the interface for whatever we're carrying in our cloud, right? The whole process started with fingerprint ID and all these things. This means that at one point, you will be able to log into a device that you've never seen before and get your own data and see the same things, right? And that means that you need that kind of convergence, that kind of approach where there's one design, one user experience, no matter the screen, no matter the interface that you're using. Flat design for the win. Well, this is kind of obvious, right? Based on everything that we talked about so far. Microsoft and the Microsoft design language has been one of the front runners or one of the main forces behind the whole flat design revolution, right? We see now that iOS 7 came out, right, with the new design. This is the flat design, and Vitaly pointed this out, and it's very true. 1 year from now, everybody's going to be doing that. But everybody's been doing it for the last 2 years. Flat design is something that in web design, at least, it's already there, it's already matured, and for us as designers, it's a breath of fresh air. And of course, the principle I mentioned before, content before Chrome, I think this is very important. Content, the way it stands, the way it's supposed to be, it's the only thing that matters. And it should be the interactive element or the interface for the user. The Chrome, the application Chrome, these are the things that are not, these are the things that we need to lose or to make as minimal as possible. And I guess that's it. Okay? And this is a word from our sponsor, from Microsoft. Building for the modern web just got easier. You should probably check out the booth if you didn't so far, right? Okay?
Thank you, Stefan.
Questions?
Yes, questions. We have plenty of time for that, so please go ahead and ask. Stefan has plenty of experience with a lot of clients and a lot of projects. Actually, all you see here today is made by X3.
Yeah.
So that is very cool. There we go.
Hello, Stefan. This is Andrei Potorac, CEO at Blogview. My question is related to the speech. I was curious if you've seen the startups from this batch, and what do you think? I mean, which one was your favorite in terms of design? And if we can pick on your brain afterwards to get some feedback on our startup.
We should probably talk talk about this later. I haven't had the chance to look over all of the designs from everybody, so it wouldn't be fair to just point out. Obviously, my favorite there would be kite ops. You probably saw that.
Perfect, yeah, mine too. Okay, thanks.
Very cool. Next question. We have one here on the left. Stefan.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
So I'm having a hard time putting it into words.
Me too. So it's fine.
So if flat design is right now going into the market, so from my perspective, it is not yet a validated trend. Like the trendsetters started it, but is it validated enough to start now applying flat design on apps and products?
If you ask me, yes. I mean, it's not even that it's going to be in the future. It's happening right now. All the best applications that you see, all the best web apps have started doing that. It's not only the big guys. Design is no longer something, I mean, flat design isn't only about, you know, doing things simpler. It's more efficient. As far as user experience goes, as far as putting the stuff that matters first, content before Chrome, basically. Flat design has that kind of principle. And even if, you know, flat is not supposed to be, it's not only about losing the gradients and all that stuff. It's about the way of thinking, basically. So, yeah, you want to call it differently, that's fine. I mean, it's going to be probably going to evolve in being called something else anyway. But the principles are the same and aren't new. I mean, these are principles from the 20s and 30s, you know.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Alex, also from Blogview. I'm a designer, so I think your talk and Vitali's were probably the only two really relevant to my personal experience, so thanks for that. My question would be regarding, you know, that flat design has been criticized as a trend that loses affordance. You know,
that loses? No, I didn't hear you.
It has been criticized as a trend that loses affordance. People find it harder to interact with it.
Okay.
Have you, I don't know, come up with certain methodologies or ways of handling this better?
Right. Well, it's what you consider flat design and where you want to apply it. For example, Apple's iOS 7, because this is, you know, the big talk, which, okay, isn't flat as in it doesn't use its gradients. It has gradients, it has shadows, but they're used differently, and they're used specifically for the reasons what you're saying. Windows, for example, Microsoft uses this a little bit differently. They are defined as far as, you know, like the patterns that you use when developing or when designing, they kind of set you up for what kind of, like the Windows 1 principle, that's basically it, right? All of the applications teach the users how to interact, right? Now for the web, when it comes to flat design and for the applications, you need to make sure that you're not losing, I mean, you're not going 100% to the unknown, right? If it makes sense to you to use elements that pinpoint or highlight the buttons or whatever you want to highlight as far as interactive elements, do that, sure. It shouldn't be, I mean, all these things shouldn't be just that. I mean, shouldn't be just eliminating everything else, you know.
Cool. Thank you. We have one more question over here.
I'm Bogdan from Dust Cloud. With all this flat design, someone who is not a designer might feel that everybody could do design. It's simple, it's very basic. Isn't this a little bit dangerous for your profession? And it's somehow moving the things from design to maybe UX mechanism.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, I think it's somebody somewhere asked the same question when open source came around, right? Like having all the code out there or giving WordPress for free or all these things. Somebody asked that, okay, so how are you going to make money? It's, well, people make money by fixing other people's, you know, mistakes, right, with WordPress. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I don't think, I think it's important that everybody understands the principles. I think it's important that flat design, if it does get to the point that everybody can do it, that means that everybody can do it well. Because being a designer not so long ago was, just a label that you put on yourself, and you call yourself your designer. Who was I to argue with you, right? It's not like a doctor. It's not like you have to go to you go to school, but you don't have to go to school, right? You see what I'm saying? So basically, it's the same thing here. A lot of people should try to do it, and that's good. That's great. A lot more people will understand a lot of the principles behind flat design and everything else. I'm happy about I'm happy about that actually.
Very cool. One last question. I think we had one over there.
Yeah, presentation
Okay,
was
maybe
shorter.
two.
Yeah.
Hi, Mitra from Parodi. How long is this going to last? I mean,
Sorry?
like all design trends, they have a lifespan.
Yeah.
For how long will this going to last? Are there any indications for this?
Right, there's a cycle to this. There's always a new trend that it comes to as a response to the trend before. Right now, we're in the trend of flat design versus skeuomorphic or Web 2.0, whatever. And that was a response to something else before that. In the 20s and 30s, Bauhaus, the whole Bauhaus movement, the whole modern design movement, came as a response to the whole overly decorated stuff. If you remember the industrial elements, even that thing up there, like for example, right? That seems something, yeah. So there's always a response. The culture, that's the definition of evolution, right? It's revolution or evolution through revolution or something like that. And it's going to keep going like that. I don't know what's going to come next, but it's definitely going to end at one point. We're probably going to be better off when it does end, right? There are a lot of principles, the ones that matter will survive and get, into the new trend or get kind of, yeah, right? Because 2.0 was supposed to be, was all about the web application and the internet, right? The things that matter from there evolve to this, and that's fine. And we're going to see what comes next. I don't know, right?
Cool. One last question. I think we had one over there.
Hello, Adrian Stanciu from IXIA. I'm wondering if user interface design isn't becoming a fashion and not necessarily an evolution. I mean, the same people that are telling us today that flat is good told us several days ago that gradients are good. Before gradients, we had flat.
Right.
We have round corners, square corners,
Right. Shadows
and so
no
on.
shadows.
So it
Right.
looks like more like a fashion. Once the hardware enables you to do everything you can, then it simply becomes a fashion and will change forever.
Right. So basically saying, make up your mind. I mean, come on, right? So the question was if this is happening. Yeah, it is. If it's a fashion thing. I don't know if it's a fashion thing, but it's definitely an experience thing. And if you are talking about user experiences, users change their mind. And we need to grow with that. I'm sure that the application that you've built or somebody has built like 10 years ago would function just as fine. And pressing the same buttons would work exactly as it did before. But the users have evolved. The users might not be the same, right? And that's basically what you need to keep in mind. And exactly like fashion, right? I mean, somebody needs to buy this stuff. And, women evolve or, yeah. Sorry, no pun intended there. But no, seriously, it's all about things that we want to change, we want something else, we want something more or less, I don't know. But it's something else. It's not even the more or the less part, right? But yeah, interface design will evolve with that. Sorry. Yeah.
That was it. Thank you so much, Stefan.
Sure.
Thank you for your awesome questions.